Okay, everybody can see the screen okay?
Nice.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to be looking at what's called a theme in philately. So stamps collected by a lot of people around the world, and lots of people collect stamps for different reasons. My collection, which is not that big, is primarily based around stamps, but also, as you can see on the right there, place names that have something to do, theme minerals as the theme, and minerals on stamps. And also, as you can see there, I've got Ballarat, which is a famous mining area, some would say, um, and got the cancellation with the name Ballarat clearly on, and that's from 1902, so still part of the gold era of Ballarat. Right, there is like a subtitle, if you like, of this one as well. Where are we? It's going to work. There we go. Also known as the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll see examples of all of those as we go. I've put those three stamps up there just to illustrate that. On the left-hand side, we've got a very nice Sumeb Azurite. In the middle, we've got a very poor representation of quartz and calcite from Romania. And on the right hand side, it's just a dead ugly stamp. Colours are all odd, and the artwork's not really that good on it. So you do get a range of quite a few different styles. All right, let's go into the introduction. So first of all, question there is, why would you want to collect minerals on stamps? Just move that up a little bit further, or move it down a bit so we can see. Okay, if you've got a passion for all things mineralogy, there's probably lots of different areas you look at. Obviously from an educational and scientific interest, lots of collectors of minerals and stamps are still mineral enthusiasts and mineral collectors as well. And there could be a variety of different designs on the stamps, illustrating actual minerals, gemstones, mining history, and a whole heap of other things. And we'll see a few examples of that. It's obviously a connection to nature, and the stamps can tell stories, and particularly about history and changing of country names. We were talking about that just before with Sainte Marie, and an area moving into different countries. Certainly places like some of the African countries, the country names have changed on a fairly regular basis. My own personal view is that many of the stamps have excellent artwork, whether it be photographic or otherwise, and some of the stamp designs are really pleasant to look at. But you do have a bit of a mix between scientific accuracy and artistic expression, and we'll see a bit of that as well. There's a big challenge, of course. You're talking generally about stamps that are only a few centimetres in size, and the artists have to come up with an image that is still a good representation of the actual mineral, but in a very small space, and that can be a bit of a challenge. It's very affordable, of course, and doesn't take up much space. So if you compare it to a lot of other hobbies, mineral collecting in particular, the prices of minerals these days are right up there. But stamps generally are pretty inexpensive. And of course, in terms of storage, they're little flat pieces of paper, so they don't take up a lot of space. So just to summarize, it's a blend of art, science, art and history, and a personal passion. It can be intellectually stimulating. Sometimes it's quite a challenge to determine even what country a stamp is from, because some of the names are perhaps in a different script, Arabic or something like that, and you might not actually know everything about the stamp from an English perspective, English language perspective. But of course, with Google, things like Google Lens these days, you can take a photo of it and you can get the text off and translated. All right, so how many stamps do you think are out there with minerals on them? The answer might surprise you. I thought when I first started looking at this in detail, maybe there were a few hundred, maybe less, maybe more, but there's over 5,000 different stamps with minerals on them, and that surprised me somewhat. You've got lots of different types of stamps. Let's look at some of the themes. There are postage stamps, which are ones that are definitely designed to go on the outside of a letter or a parcel, getting to be quite defunct these days. I know if I go to a post office with a package, generally they print out a little white label with the details on it, and that gets stuck onto the package, and you don't actually see the stamps themselves very much unless you specifically ask for them. Philately, which is the hobby of stamp collecting, and there are stamps that are issued that are specifically aimed at philatelists, not so much used for postage, although for the most part they can be used for postage as well. And they can be split up into different types. You've got normal stamps, there's souvenir sheets, which are sheets of like a similar theme, and we'll see a couple of examples of those. They're generally issued by agencies rather than the countries themselves. So what you will see with some of the African issues, for instance, is a very similar theme across different countries. And that's because it's an agency that actually produces the stamps for those countries. And there are also what are called illegal stamps. There's a few countries in particular that issue stamps, but it's issued not in an official manner. So it's not issued by the country, even though it has the country's name on it. We've got two different types basically of stamps. There's ones that haven't been used and ones that have been used. The used ones, normally called franked or cancelled, and they have a stamp on them that usually has the post office details, the date. That's basically it, and it occurs generally as a black print. You can see an example here on this Australia kangaroo one. That's the cancellation there. On the Ghana one here, it's on this corner, and the old penny black, you can just see a little bit on the side there as well. Cancelled to order are ones where, particularly for things like first day of issue stamps, a stamp is franked or cancelled, but it's done carefully and usually across one corner. And this Gold Coast one is almost where that would normally appear. That might just be the way that it's actually landed on the stamp, but generally they'll be on one corner or another corner of the stamp as a cancelled to order. Then you get ones that are not used, and these are either called mint because they've had nothing done to them, mint unhinged, which is usually used as MUH, and that means it's never had a stamp hinge and put into a stamp album, which is the old style way of collecting stamps. And then we have overprints. You can see this one down here it's where it's changed from Gold Coast to Ghana, and because they've had a stock of stamps, rather than chucking them all out and reprinting them, they've overstamped it with that particular wording, or overprinted it. Other things you might have on stamps are different types of perforation. So the penny black on the right hand side here has no perforation at all. They were just cut up into squares, if you like. This is the perforation around the edge of the stamp, you can see here and on here. And some of the, when I said before that stamp collecting is an inexpensive hobby, there are people that specialise in things like particularly older stamps, where there are 13 instead of 15 perforations on an edge or something crazy like that. Not something that I'm interested in particularly. And then you have watermarks on some stamps. If you hold the stamp up to the light, you can see in the paper itself a security thing, which is a watermark that can differ on different stamps. And of course we have different stamp shapes. So here you can see a Ukrainian one, which is triangular. They're usually either square or rectangular, but they can be lots of different shapes. In terms of themes, there are quite a few crocite stamps, which surprised me as well. When I say quite a few, maybe about a dozen or so that I'm aware of. Some stamps are produced just for international stamp expositions, and you can get whole sheets that are themed around that way. And there may be anniversaries of things. First day covers, I mentioned just before. There are people that collect first day covers or FTCs. And what that is, it's the first day of an official stamp issue that is franked or cancelled on that day. So you have the date with the stamp, and usually with or quite often with an envelope that is specially prepared for that as well, that might have other information. The artwork and design can be photographic, it can be drawings, it can be different types of illustration. The photography is quite varied. Some of it is very good and some of it is not. So quite often you'll see similar layouts or themes. So the one that we've got here, which, and I have no idea why this comes into the next bit as well, a disparate theme. Why the theme is scouts and minerals, or scouts and other things. We've got a bird and different birds over this side. And again, that can be seen, even with that one, with the scouts and the minerals, that can be seen in different countries. Also Mandela, there's lots of stamps with Mandela and volcanoes, or Mandela and minerals, or Mandela and animals. It's just a money-making thing for but usually the poorer African countries in particular, where they come out with those sorts of things. And I've no idea why the text is covered up on that, but it looked okay before. In terms of other similar stamps, we've got geology-related stamps. There's over 400 of those. Here we've got rocks of Hong Kong, for instance. This one's an old New Zealand one where one of the stamps in the set is geology, and the others are other different science things. We've got Douglas Mawson on the left-hand side here, and this is an Australian Antarctic Territory stamp. But Mawson was a very well-known geologist in Australia. Let's move that back up out of the way. Many years ago. There are over 1,700 specifically mining-related stamps. And so you have actual mining stamps like this Broken Hill one, which was an anniversary, 75 years. You've got a coal mining stamp here, you've got a tin mining stamp from the UK, gold from New Zealand. And one of my favourites is this is from 1916, and it's a cancellation of the Magnet Township. So some of you would know about the Magnet Mine near Waratah in northwestern Tasmania. And this one was when the township, as it was at that particular point, doesn't exist anymore, it had a post office, or at least an agency where they frank the post before it went out. So it was a nice one to come across. I've had that stamp about 30 years, I think. There's over 700 specifically with gemstones. Lots of different countries. So obviously Colombia is well known for emeralds. Zimbabwe, they've just picked particular gemstones. There's no real reason for why those ones are there. Rhodolite garnet from Kenya is probably okay. And then this one here is a Japanese one that was done for one of the international expos. and it has a range of gemstones. There were two designs they used. You'll see the other one a little bit further on. That was more mineral related. There's over 920 with fossils, like this, 90 plus for meteorites, mineralogists, there's 80 mineralogists, which is quite a lot, and nearly 9,000 dinosaurs. So dinosaurs obviously are very popular with kids and have been for a long time. That's actually not one of mine. I don't think I have a dinosaur stamp at all. So there you go. And if we have a quick look at crocoite, I've got a few of the crocoite stamps, and they're all Tasmanian crocoites, but they don't appear on Australian stamps at all. So we've got Republic of Congo, it's a Tasmanian crocoite. We've got the Republic of Central African Republic, it's a Tasmanian crocoite. We've got Mozambique, it's a Tasmanian crocoite. We've got what's this one? Togo, yeah, Togo. It's a Tasmanian crocoite. Now some of them, these two here are very ordinary sort of looking specimens. This one here is quite nice, but it's actually artwork, not a photograph, interestingly. And then some of them, like this one, the stamp comes on a souvenir sheet, which is this, and the crocoite is on the souvenir sheet and not on any stamps. But what tourmaline and crocoite have to do with one another, who knows? All comes down to colour and placement and whatever, and visual appeal, I suppose. Let's quickly have a look at design. We have realism versus artistic license. So some stamps have very accurate representations. Some of them are just illustrative drawings. Some of them might include information on crystal forms. Well, there's not that many of those. We mentioned before the challenge for designers, creating small detailed images that still are able to convey the true beauty and complexity of minerals, and then balancing scientific accuracy with aesthetic appeal. And I'll just briefly run through, there's a few slides, so please bear with me, it's all text. If you want to go back and look at this later on when the video's up, you can pause the video and do so. But what I've tried to do here is go from the very early days, and stamps first came out in the mid-1800s, right through to the present period of time, and the different techniques that have been used to actually produce the stamps. So the initial was called line engraving, and a bit later on what was called surface printing. And there were two different types of that. So there was the relief printing and the lithography. Then we had photogravure, gravure, that's a hard word to say, and offset lithography. And then in the modern era, digital printing, which is what's done now. And what this actually allows for is much smaller runs. There's a lot less work to produce what's required to actually print the stamps. And even you can do your own stamps if you want to. And we'll see an example of that in a minute. And there's also some hybrid techniques. I won't dwell on any of those to bore you or whatever. Going back a bit, in 2001, John Betts, who you would all know, was a full-time mineral dealer at the time. And he was contacted by Guinea-Bissau, which is an African country. And they wanted to issue sets of stamps with images of minerals. This is fairly early on in the explosion, if you like, of mineral-themed stamps. And they actually asked him for permission to use images from his website, which he granted, and which he also said was quite unusual. I think he said in his post about this, that there was even a fairly major mineral magazine that used some of his photos at one stage and didn't even ask him, didn't credit him or whatever. So it's good that they were able to do that. And this was one of the specimens that appeared down here on one of the sets of stamps. Now, you can also create your own stamps these days. These are ones that I've done here in Australia, and I think there's a few other countries that allow you to do it as well. These are all official stamps in that they can be used. So I could peel one of these off the backing sheet, stick it on an envelope and send it off. I did it more as a bit of like a trial run first with a theme of minerals of Tasmania. And so we've now got 3 more crocite stamps in the world. Well, there's not very many of them. There's only 1 sheet of each. And a Tasmanian cerussite as well. If anybody wants further information on how to go about that, you can contact me offline and I'll let you know. It could be done by anybody in the world as well. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to live in Australia to actually use this particular facility. I do know one person in Western Australia, one collector, who has been producing his own stamps through this process, his photos, I should say, to use on like Christmas cards and things for a few years. But they were really sort of odd shapes, and it's only in recent times where you can get decent square or rectangular stamps that look like a stamp. All right, let's just quickly look at where the stamps might come from. And these are not all of the countries that have issued mineral themed stamps. There's actually 3 screens of this. What I've done here is I've put a star next to the ones where there's more than 50 mineral stamps from that particular country, or in this case territory. So French Southern and Antarctic lands have got 67, Sierra Leone 121, and so on, St. Thome and whatever 146. You can see here more of the African countries: Central African Republic 211, Guinea-Bissau 299. They're the front runner. Chad was 105, Congo 79, Mozambique 133, and Togo 136. So quite a lot, pretty well all of those I think are African countries. And so is that one. And then Romania with 59, which is like an outstanding one for Europe apparently. So, but as you can see, a lot of different stamps. The number in the brackets is all of the other ones. Now we'll have a look at some of the countries and the stamps that they've produced. So this, on the side you'll see what the mineral or related thing is, and then there'll be an illustration of the stamps. All of these ones are ones that I've got in my collection as well. So Angola, not such a good one from Armenia. More so, it's not so much the design, but the printing method on this one was a little bit archaic. And you can see, I suppose these days we'd almost call that pixelated, but it's just not very crisp and clear. The actual stamp itself is probably about the size of that area there. On my screen anyway, it might be different on your screens. Argentina have produced some quite attractive ones. Not that many, but a few. I particularly like the rhodochrosite here. And all of these are minerals, even though it doesn't say on the stamp exactly where they're from. They are all Argentinian minerals. And then they followed up with another set where, I don't know whether this is their choice of colours, where the contrast just isn't there. Even though the stamps are the same size, they're only like 2012, only 1 year different. but the quality of it just wasn't there on the second year's worth of stamps. You can see here these amethyst crystals, they're a bit dodgy around the edges as well. Certainly nowhere near as crisp and clear as the other ones were. Australia hasn't produced very many. These ones are quite old ones. They're back in the 1980s, I think. The artwork is, apart from the star sapphire, which is very recognizable, the artwork on the other ones is average. They did a pair of black and white opals. I've only got the black opal, don't have the white one, but larger stamps. In Austria, we have quite a reasonable stibnite here. And then I'm guessing a mining artifact or something on this one. It's called Iron Blossom.
Yeah, it's called phosphorite. It's aragonite.
Is it aragonite? Oh, they've notes Iron Blossom is the translation of Eisenblüte.
Correct.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Frank. I did not know that. In that case, it's probably slightly less ugly, maybe, but still fairly ugly. Azerbaijan has some mixed results. The artwork on the amethyst, these amethyst crystals are just not right. It's been drawn by somebody that doesn't actually know what a quartz crystal looks like.
Yeah, probably a kid.
Quite possibly, yeah. But there's artistically, in terms of colour and presentation, they're actually not too bad. It's just the quality of the drawings are not really quite right, but not bad. Belgium comes in with a few. This is a calcite and a turquoise. Photographs, but again, fairly average. This probably would have been a single shot photo. There's no depth of field really to determine just how good the specimen is. And interestingly, there's something which I hadn't mentioned before. These also have what's called a gutter on them. So when a stamp sheet is produced, it might have, I don't know, 50, 60, whatever the number is of stamps in a sheet. And most of those stamps are joined to other stamps. But at the edges, they're joined to what's called a gutter. And why these particular ones have the word prior on, I don't know. But I've left them on there. A lot of people leave them on. A lot of people take them off. Just depends on your own personal preference, I suppose. Benin, triangular stamps. These ones are fairly attractive stamps. But again, the artwork leaves a little bit to be desired. This one here, which is a corundum, I think. And this one here, which is a uranium ore specimen. Yeah, you've got the colour there, but you can't really pick much more than that. The quartz again is not bad, but you can see here some of the faces don't quite match up the way that they should. So they'll probably get a D minus. Botswana photographs, again, not the best. That is one of the ugly ones for me. That one, I have no idea. Yeah, it's moss agate, but you might be able to pick that it's moss
Shouldn't it be
agate.
green then?
Sorry?
Shouldn't it be green? Is it moss again?
Well, you would think so, yeah, but that could be, I mean, the yellow colour of the stamp is very bright as well. It might be a colour printing issue that they've got. Even the choice of yellow versus orange as backgrounds here are not ideal. But it was quite a few years ago too. Brazil, we have mining ones such as this one, and quite often gemstone or gem mineral related. These are photographs, but okay, I suppose. You've got this one here with a sort of side shadow, probably could be a bit better. I'm being a bit picky on this one. I quite like the indicolite one, but probably because of the colour more than anything else. And the Alexandrite's not too bad. Bulgaria, this is one of my favourite sets. You might have seen me post a photo, a bit of story about Bulgarian pyramorphite a little while ago. That's one of my favourite stamps in the set. The garnet is really nice as well. In fact, I wouldn't have a problem with probably any of those. They all look pretty good. The quartz crystal's not quite right in some of the terminations, but not bad. I've been picky. Cambodia, I think I've only issued this one set. Average sort of artwork. That one's not too bad. Some of the others leave a little bit to be desired. Canada has produced some interesting ones. So all of these ones here have a gutter alongside as well. And on the gutter, it actually has more detail about the actual stamp. So you can see here, for instance, this one says some of the world's best sodalite crystals, sodalite comes from Bancroft. Billed as the mineral capital of Canada. There you go. Now we get into some interesting ones. So you'll see this sort of theme a little bit. These ones here are, Stefan Volsfried, his photos. So what's happened with him and with Christian Ruitzer is they've been contacted to provide photos of microminerals for various countries, various African countries, but with a theme of particular mines. In this case, it's the Langenbach area. And these are excellent microphotographs. Yeah, whatever. And you can tell that these have all been done by the same agency, just by the style. Very, very attractive though. Then we have some earlier artwork again from Chad. This one over the side here is siderite. It says so on the side there, which is good, because that would have been one that would have been really hard to pick. Idenite, yeah, fair enough. Wolfenite, yes. What have we got down the bottom here? That one doesn't have anything on it. Is that one? Oh, it does, sorry. Dolomite and quartz with sphalerite. Not the best azurite that I've ever seen. And spinel on calcite. Also, if you look here, corner, 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 middle, which is slightly different, middle, which is different, they all look like they've been cancelled to water. Colombia, we saw that one a bit earlier. It's just the emeralds. It's the only one that they've produced that has any mineral related stuff on it. Gypsum from Cyprus. Again, not exactly the best background to pick, I don't think, for that, but there you go. Democratic Republic of the Congo, formerly Zaire. And we've actually got minerals that come from that area, which is quite unusual. Here's another one of the agency ones. This one's Christian Ruitzer collection. Again, very, very nice photos. Ecuador, that's the ugly or bad, I can't remember which one I said now. I think I said ugly. That one's pretty ugly. The gold's probably the only one that I like out of those. Finland, which has rock types basically on their themed stamps. They have on the left hand side here, this is a superb piece of rock, orbicular granite, Kugel granite. France has produced quite a few mineral related ones over the years. This particular stamp here has a very heavy cancellation on it. That is not an ideal one to have in a collection. These ones are not so bad because they don't have quite so much on. For this one, that sort of detracts from the topaz specimen. So I might try and look at replacing that one at some stage. Some of the earlier stamps here were line drawings, and these are really nice. That marcasite there with the crystal drawings is quite attractive and very good representation of the species, as are the others. And being a mineral artist myself, I really appreciate things like that. And then we have the French Antarctic Territory, which is one of the ones that had a red star on the list of countries. They have produced quite a number over the years, different themes. Again, I don't know how many of these minerals actually have been found in the Antarctic. Some of them probably have, but don't really know. It could be most of them actually, looking at them. Some are better than others. And then they've also produced a number of sets over the years of quite often with rough and cut. So you have the rough or natural mineral on one side and then some cut or polished stuff on the other. A few other examples of that. Nice colours in the sodalite. And then, excuse me, back to Europe, in Germany. This particular one here is a little on the dark side, but it's quite nice fluorites. And again, I've got an example there of a crystal drawing to match the actual specimen. Another one that I could do with having a slightly better cancellation on it. These are quite early ones here, and the artwork here is quite interesting, and it's just lines and squiggles and dashes basically to give the outline of the structure of the specimen, and that's quite well done. And then a few other examples here. Again, some of these would be cancelled to order, being on the on the corners like that. More from Germany, different periods. Some where the reproduction process has just not worked, like the erythrite, but some of these are actually okay. Smoking quartz is quite nice. The praestite's quite nice. We saw that one before with the overprint. Manganese mine from the Gold Coast or Ghana. Greece, again, not the best production. Shadows are all, it's not very artistic. Shadows are all wrong on these, on the photos. The quality of the production is not really that great. And then you get ones like Guinea-Bissau, which is now, I think they put out new mineral stamps every year, pretty much. This is a souvenir sheet where you've got one stamp and then a whole load of other stuff on it. And the artwork here is really, really nice. And same with this one. That's one of my favourite ones of all time, that amethyst. Some more of John Betts stamps, John Betts specimens / photos stamps. I managed to get a set of these fairly recently. I actually had to ask John what a couple of the specimens were, because there's nothing on them to say what they are. Obviously, this one I knew because it was the one he posted about, and some of the others I could pick. I could obviously pick the dioptase and so on, but this one I didn't realise was actually mimetite, and I think this one here, which is actually azurite. I didn't pick that as azurite. John also told me that the Brazilianite is actually a cleavage. It's got cleavage faces on it. It's not just a straight out crystal, which was interesting. Now, I haven't got all the details on these other ones yet, so these last two I'm not 100% certain of, but again, they were another set that had John's minerals and photos on it, and the same with these. So these top three, not sure. When John's got a bit of spare time, I'll get him to give me the other information. And same with a couple of these ones too. Here we've got another Stefan Wolfsfried one, this time from, I can't see under there. So I've got the UI screen sharing thing in the way, but it's from the Clara mine. Should have known that by the minerals. Set from Hungary. Not much to say, they're okay. They just look like old style stamps. Iceland, which is understandably going to have zeolites and related minerals, or associated minerals, I should say. There's the other Japanese one that I mentioned before. This is from the 2022 International Stamp Expo, which I think was held in Japan that particular year. Excuse me. I did a bit of checking on this one because Jersey obviously is not a very large place. And so I had a look on Mindat, and there's 54 minerals that are recorded for Jersey, and including molybdenite. So it's quite possible this is a molybdenite from Jersey, but there's no mineral photos at all on Mindat, which for 54 minerals is a little bit surprising for the whole of the island. So if anybody's got any Jersey specimens they want to photograph and stick up on Mindat, that would be good. Kenya, we have rough and cut examples again, and then some, again, not great artwork in some of the specimens. Langenbach mine, so it's another Stefan one. A few of the rarer species and a few common ones. In this case, Liberia, so another African country. The only one that I can find from Madagascar, as it was called at the time, Malagasy, and it's a silicified wood. The Maldives have a few, but again, where the specimens are from, in this particular instance, at least they list the countries. They're nowhere near where the Maldives are, but it's got an Australian tourmaline as well. Monaco is a very, very small principality, I think, as opposed to a country. I'm not sure of the derivation of it. And yeah. That's correct, is it, Frank? Yeah. But in terms of geology, all of these potentially could be around that area, and they're actually from the Mercantour National Park, which is in France, but very close to Monaco itself. You can see a Parc National de Mercantour or something, I think. Du Mercantour. And quite a few of them are titanium minerals, of course. Mozambique, quite like the designs of these ones, but again, the quality of the specimens is not that great, and these ones just no. Then we have Namibia, and I've included Southwest Africa as well, which is what Namibia obviously used to be. And it's interesting, this is a set of the Southwest Africa stamps, has a number of those from Sumib. There was an interesting one with the boltwoodite where it actually has on these stamps has the chemical formula as well. And the boltwoodite, they had to issue a second stamp because they had the formula wrong on the first one. Excuse me. And then when we look at the Namibian stamps, very similar, in fact, identical designs for some of them, but they've included additional ones. So some of the actual stamps themselves have changed. But again here, the aterite, the dioptase, the wolfenite in particular are all very, very attractive looking stamps. New Zealand has produced a few back in the 1990s, I think. Nigeria, I've only got one mining related stamp from there. It's the only thing that I've seen, tin mining. North Korea, yes. This one has a bit of a story to it. So I originally ordered, excuse me, I originally ordered a set of these from a guy in Italy, and they were listed as mineral stamps from North Korea. And PayPal refused the payment on the basis of, I think they'd said that the seller could no longer accept PayPal, which was actually rubbish. And it turned out that because North Korea appeared on the PayPal invoice, if you like, and nothing is allowed in terms of America, nothing is allowed from North Korea. They actually stopped the sale. So I ended up getting this set from a guy in the UK who listed them just as Korea, so it didn't get caught up. But it was really ridiculous. We're talking about stamps that date back to the 1980s that were coming from Italy to Australia, not going via the US, and yet they still interfered in the process. Odd. Anyway, couple of Norwegian ones which are not that great. Poland from the salt mine, even though that's not a really great representation, particularly colour-wise, you can tell what it is. It's halite, which is good. Portugal has some which are more mining related, but have minerals on them. So you've got pyrites and what I'm thinking is hematite on the right-hand side. And Panasquera, wolframite. What was the other one? Arsenopyrite. Not sure about the barrels much, but some of those, at least you know they're Portuguese. That's a bad stamp. Russia has a few, not that many. Again, the artwork on these ones is not that great. I don't mind the malachite and the rhodonite, but the amethysts are a bit off. Then we've got Sierra Leone, and I don't think these are photos, but I'm not 100% sure. If they are, they're manipulated ones a little bit. But yeah, you've got these sort of highlights, these weird highlights, and the reflections are a bit close, or that one is a bit close. So I'm not sure if they started as a photo and then got played with, or whether they were done in some other fashion. Slovenia, one and only, is the mineral stamp is a fluorite. It's quite reasonable. Republic of South Africa, which I think this is manganite, but there's no real way to confirm it. The stamp is obviously depicting manganese mining. Spain has a few that one I've got to get a replacement for because that's too heavily cancelled. But classic Spanish pyrite there. Classic aragonite. Switzerland has produced a number over the years, so 1958, 1961, 59, 60. So as they go over a few years, and quite early mineral stamps as well. And some of them are really quite nice. I thought this was initially was a pyrite, but it's actually a fluorite. Yeah, quite nice, those ones. And then some of the later ones were these, and they were photographs and not really good. I thought this might have been Celestine, but it's actually not, it's quartz. It's just very bad coloration. Tanzania, sapphires. Togo stamps are quite nice, usually. Like that, again, the choice of minerals have got nothing to do with the country, but these ones here are quite nice representations. The malachite's a bit iffy, but most of them is pretty good. And pyrite, notice the spelling. It's incorrect. It's not like it's in a different language, because all of the other ones are in English. It's just misspelt. So they do make mistakes periodically. Tristan da Cunha Island. Could well be that sulfur and pyroxenes come from that. It's a volcanic island. Uganda with an emerald which is drawn by a child. Don't know. And then the USA. USA have issued 2 lots of stamps. This is the first one. And the second one, a few years later, 1992. So this is an example of a first day of issue where it's been cancelled on the date of issue of the stamp. So they were issued on the 17th of September in 1992. And the interesting thing about this one is that the envelope itself, someone has painted each of the specimens on the envelope, and they've done 5 sets of that. And so there's only 5 of these in existence. So it's the first day of issue, which is good. And it's got this original artwork, and they're not printed, it's actually painted. Quite a nice one to find from my perspective. I haven't been able to track down the artist yet and find out anything about them. And we're getting very close to the end. So Zambia, average to poor. Zimbabwe, used to be Southern Rhodesia, then Rhodesia, and now Zimbabwe. And you can see here that they took a slightly different tack to one of the other ones that we saw, where they didn't overprint, they just redid the whole stamp. And you've got the before and the after, if you like. And that is the background. So I've lost a bit of the background on it. It's a bit odd. Okay, just quickly, that's all of the countries I'm covering. Some collecting tips and resources. So online resources, there's a website called Colnect, which is connecting collectors, I think. And it has so many different stamps from so many different countries, many thousands, obviously not just mineral stamps, but they also have phone cards, coins, other collectibles, in quotes, like sugar packets and all sorts of weird stuff. But it's a good place for information about, particularly if you're looking for a particular theme of stamps, say. And then Stamp World is another one where you can get more information on individual stamps. If you're that keen, you can get hold of catalogues. Stanley Gibbons is the one that I remember as a kid. And in terms of looking after your stamps, you really should try and use acid-free mounts. Don't use stamp hinges. Protect them from sunlight, keep them in a cool, dry place, similar to some minerals. And mine are actually in a book that has plastic that the stamps slide partway down behind, so you can actually see the whole stamp when you open the book up. So just a quick recap. More than 5,000 mineral stamps, nearly 9,000 dinosaur stamps, 170 or so countries that have issued mineral stamps, African countries leading the way. A lot of them are little miniature artworks for me, and it's an inexpensive hobby. And there's some of my Adelaide mine crocoite stamps again, just finish off with. So there we go. Any questions?
Interesting.
Certainly a different aspect of mineralogy.
It is. It's very much a different aspect.
I had to smile because when you said the sheet with the countries and how much they produce, the Netherlands wasn't one of them. But
No.
I saw that the Netherlands Antilles had 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, even Australia stamps are a big thing for collectors. And there's lots of opportunity for mineral related stamps, but there's very few. And the UK, there was nothing except for the odd mining stamp.
Yeah.
So there's just nothing.
Steve,
That's
what
about right
year
for
did
a
you start collecting?
What year did I start collecting?
Yeah,
Mineral stamps?
well,
Probably,
all stamps.
oh, okay, when I was a kid. So probably when I was about 7 or 8, I think. I don't have any of the stamps that I had as a kid. But when we were living in Tasmania, my parents came to visit from the UK at one stage, and my mother was interested in stamps. So we took her to the local stamp dealer in Hobart, and I got to know the people there quite well. And when I started looking through some of the early Australian or early Tasmanian stamps, because the state of Tasmania, each of the states in Australia issued their own stamps up until Federation. And I started seeing some of the postmarks of Magnet and Queenstown and other mining related areas. And I thought, oh, they're interesting. So I've even got a couple of Sorrell stamps. So I sort of collected a few of those, and then it sort of went on from there. Managed to pick up the penny black for like
Oh,
about
wow.
$10 or something, which is,
Wow.
when I was a kid, if I'd seen one for, any amount of money that was anything near what I would get as pocket money, I would have grabbed it. But so yeah, we've picked up a few, and then over that, probably the first 20 or so years, I had maybe come across just a handful of mineral related stamps. I just didn't see it anywhere. And then about 3 years ago, I think it was during COVID some stage, there was a guy in the US did a talk about mineral stamps as well, a bit of a presentation. And he had a spreadsheet which he offered around to people. And I looked at the spreadsheet, I got a copy of it, looked at the spreadsheet, and I thought, bloody hell, there's so many different countries that have produced mineral stamps. But it was nowhere near 5,000. It was like 350 or something like that lines in the spreadsheet. And then over the past 2 years in particular, I've managed to pick up quite a few different examples, particularly of chasing the crocoite ones. Some of them I've gone, why did I bother? Because the stamps are really ugly, but I'll keep them. But
There
the
were some
art of
minerals,
them,
Steve. So
yeah, I know. I've got ugly minerals as well. But then really like some of the early artwork as well. So I thought I'll get a few different ones, and they're easy to get. The postage, ironically, the postage costs more than the stamps most of the time.
Yeah.
And I've probably got to the stage now where I've got as many as I want to have. I do have some that came yesterday that have another few crocoites in them. I'll just grab them. Oh. So, let's have a quick look. Solomon Islands. It's red. Is it crocoite or is it something else? I can't remember. Oh no, yeah, it's crocoite. And excuse my voice. Saint Tome and Principe as well have another crocoite one, and I think there was a third one, but I can't actually see it somewhere. No, doesn't matter. Anyway, there's probably not, I think there's only one or two other crocodile ones that I haven't actually come across. One is a Russian one, and I think it is actually a Russian crocodile on the stamp, but it's an illegal stamp, an illegal set. And it's not one that you ever see available on any of the normal sort of marketplaces. Like sometimes you've got to look at eBay, for instance, but also through Connect and a couple of other places you can get other collectors that have excess stamps that they sort of sell off for very little money, as I said. But chasing very specific ones sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. So, like some of the ones you saw tonight are full sets. So there might be 6 issued in a set. Others might be partial sets where, you know, I've picked up maybe 4 out of 6 or 4 out of 5 or whatever. And then you've got to say, well, am I going to chase the filler one? Do I really want to do that? And, you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think I'll probably be more inclined to if it's something that's a bit more attractive these days, but it's good fun. When I was a kid, I collected.
I started collecting as a child.
Yeah.
And in 1959, and then in high school I took geology, and I started being interested in that. So I have quite a few of the same ones you have.
Oh, good, good.
And I have one from China that you didn't mention, but I do have the Australian ones that you showed as well because they were so pretty. And I was out of geology for about 18 years, and I still had my stamp collection.
Oh,
so
good.
I went to a stamp collector's show and looking for minerals on stamps. And then I met a person who had the same interest, which wasn't common, especially for a woman. And that's how I got back into geology, by meeting this guy, and that was 92. So yeah, I still have my stamp collection, but I spend more money on minerals than stamps.
Yes.
But they're so pretty.
That's interesting. Was collecting stamps when I was 7, 8 years old as well. I stopped in the early 60s, but I still have all my stamp albums, and
I have mine.
And one of the things I got out of the stamp collecting hobby was a real keen interest and knowledge of world geography.
Yes.
Yes, me too. Me too.
But the parallel is now collecting minerals. There's got to be such a focus on world geology as well, world geography as well.
Yes.
From locality purposes. So there's a parallel between stamp collecting and mineral collecting in my mind.
Definitely.
Sure.
Well, this was really fun. I really enjoyed this one.
Good. Good.
Very good. Yeah.
My wife and I went to Spain several years ago, and we went to a little shop in Madrid that sold stamps. And I I got some mineral stamps from Spain. I got to look at them now that you've piqued my interest again. Let's see what they are.
Funny.
Well, I have it's over there. I think I have one album which is about that sort of thick, and it's close to full now. So I think that's probably a good time to stop.
And I used hinges when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so did I, but that's a definite no now.
But all the mint stamps I have are in the protective cellophanes, that are purpose for that. And I have about 14,000 stamps in my collection worldwide, but of course, mostly United States. But I had a pen pal when I was in junior high school and high school, and the pen pal was from Finland. And she would send me European stamps, and I would send her North American stamps, and it was great. So I got a lot of Europe.
I did a trade with a collector in Vietnam.
Wow.
Several years, 3 or 4 years ago. And the package from Vietnam came with postage stamps on them. So I kept
That was
those.
good.
Yeah.
Dave
It's
knew.
definitely a lighter hobby.
Dave
The
knew
weight
used to
wise.
Dave knew used to send all of his mineral packages out covered in postage stamps.
Wow, it's great.
Yeah, it's probably not all mineral related ones though.
Mhm.
All right.
Probably not.
Any questions? No? Any other questions? If not, we will.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Very interesting.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Interesting.
Nice session.
I'll see you
Yep.
all soon.
Trip down memory lane.
Yes, totally.
Have
Love
a nice
it.
trip to
Get your
Tasmania.
album out, Steve.
Take care, folks.
All right.
Cheers. Bye.
Cool.
Take care,
Enjoy.
guys.
Have a good trip, Dick.
Martin, hope you
Yeah.
like my answer I
Good night.
just sent you.
Pardon? Yeah.
Hope I
Yeah.
like your answer.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks
Yeah, bye.
again.